Hi, first grade parents and students. This is Mrs. Jenks, and I'd like to start by saying thank you all for attending the Back to School Parent Night yesterday. And I just kind of wanted to address some of the items that I forgot, although I'm kind of glad I forgot them because I didn't want to keep you here all night. One of them is the Daily 5 cafe boards in both classrooms. This is a huge structure in first grade literacy, and I just kind of wanted to go over that with you as you are reading at home. This is a great resource. CAFE stands for comprehension, accuracy, fluency, and expanding vocabulary. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you 3 accuracy strategies to try at home. They are: use first and last sounds. So use beginning and ending sounds to solve a word. And I'm going to show you how this strategy works. Let me see here. I've got to get my whiteboard marker. Okay. And so, with this strategy, first and last sounds, here's a great example. So if a student is trying to read the word first, you want them to focus in on the first and the last sound. And to make sure that they audibly try those sounds, like F, fun, f, and T, top, t. And so, for example, if a student were to try the word find, instead, you could talk that out with them logically and say, oh, well, F is the first sound, F is the first sound, but this can't be it because the last sound is T, and it doesn't make the D sound. So this is one of the ways where students can check the first and last sounds, and they can solve the word by checking those sounds to see if their guess is correct or if they're on the right track of sounding that word out. The next accuracy strategy I'm going to show you that you can use at home is called flip the sound. And this one is one of my favorites because it works in many scenarios. I mean, even as an adult, you could use this strategy. If it doesn't sound right, flip the sound of the letter. Example, long or short vowels. So for example, here's the word kind. A typical first grader, if they were to tap this sound out the way we've shown them at school, they would tap it out, k, I, n, d. And if I were working with a student and we were trying to figure out this word, I would say kind. Kind is not a real word. So what we'll do is we'll find the vowel and we will flip that vowel to its long sound. So instead of I, itchy, we'll flip it and say the long I sound. Let's try that. K, I, n, kind. And of course you would reason with them, yes, kind is a real word. And so this is a great strategy to use when students are trying to solve words, especially unfamiliar words. All right, and then one more accuracy strategy that you can try at home is called cross-checking, and I'll show you right here. Cross-checking. Does it look right? Does it sound right? Does it even make any sense? And so this really hammers the logic behind reading. You know, are we receiving the message that the author is putting out? And so a lot of times I have kids look at the picture to see if the pictures and the words match. That's also another strategy. But we really dig into, does it even make any sense? So here in the example that I have, the text is, we have a goldfish. And your first grade student might say, we have a fish. And so what I would do in that situation is I would say, wait a minute, that word doesn't start with F. It starts with a G. So really working out that word and chunking the word for them. You could even take a highlighter and you could even highlight the part that does say fish and you could tap that out. But then ask them, wait a minute, what do you think this beginning part of the word says? And of course, they'll check the pictures. They'll see if obviously this word doesn't look like just the word fish. There's fish at the end, but there's something more at the beginning. And so really working out the logic of the word with your student is one of these strategies. It's called cross-checking. Does it look right? Do the letters match the word? Does it sound right? Does the sounds match the letters? And does it even make any sense within the context and the picture? So finally, as we teach the kids the Daily 5 structure, in the CAFE menu, the other big piece of language that we use daily is something called Good Fit Books, which I'm sure you're familiar with, but if you're not, we've done this lesson. We talk about good fit books or books that are too easy rather. books that are too hard, and books that are just right. They're good fit books. And that looks different for every student. Some of the things that the class came up with is books that are too easy. Maybe you've read them many, many, many times and you've memorized the book, or maybe they're like baby books. Good fit books, I'll get back to. And then hard books are very simple. There's some of the kids said, oh, the words are tiny. The stories might be in foreign languages, or I don't know all the words. We use the 5-finger rule. If a student has more than 5 words that they don't know how to read, they might not be able to access that comprehension. And so even though that might seem simple, just hammering the idea of a good fit book is very important in first grade. And so what we did discuss is it has words that we know, the words might be in bigger letters, fewer on the page for now, words that I can tap out. Sometimes they're short stories. If they're too hard, pick another good fit. And again, kids said, I know most of the words. And also words that have trick words or sight words in there are great practice. Now, again, I do want to reinforce the fact that we don't want books that are too easy for kids. We do want to challenge them a little bit, but it should have many of the words that they know so that they can have that scaffold and that gain. Okay, so thank you for listening to my video. I just was kind of hoping to have some FaceTime with everybody and sort of explain this. This is something that I like to explain in the parent-teacher conferences every year, although those tend to be rushed and short. So if I can get some of this information out to you now, then we can spend more time talking about your children. Also, the other thing I would like to talk to you about is, in case you had any questions around the Daily 5, I'll be sending home some parent information on that structure. It's a structure that we use throughout K-5, so the entire elementary school uses the Daily 5. And one of the reasons behind that is it is supported by research that children do make gains when they have that kind of autonomy. And more than anything, having them be independent learners also allows me to take small groups. And so during that time when children are working on the Daily 5, which is read to self, read to someone, listen to reading, work on writing, or word work, they have that choice. And while those students are working independently, I take the small reading group. So we practice on an individual and small group basis as well. So I hope that answers a few questions that maybe you didn't even know you had. And I look forward to visiting with you all and learning more about your kids. Tomorrow is Friday, and I will be sending home a sight word inventory. And so I've been working with the kids to see what sight words they know from kindergarten. And I've noticed that some of them know many of the kindergarten sight words, but we're also having some students have forgotten them or they need more practice with them. And I will send that list of the sight word inventory home for you to practice, because we will be starting our first grade sight words in the next unit, which will pick up pretty quickly. So we want to really get a jump on that. And as you work with your student at home on sight words can be a very difficult task for students to learn. And I do want to remind you, the language that we use with our phonics program is actually trick words. So if you hear your students say trick words, that's what they're called now. One of the strategies that I like to use is to do picture or idea associations with a word. And so oftentimes what I'll have students do is I will have them tell me what the word reminds them of. So another word that's very tricky for first graders is the word said. This is just an example. The word said. And so what I like to do is I like to ask them, what does this word remind you of? And, I've had kids say something like, well, my mom said. And so we'll draw a picture that goes with the word. And this could be used in a flashcard style, but at least there's a picture association that goes with the word. And soon you might cover up the word, let them look at the picture, and then eventually you'll get to cover up the picture and let them look at the word. And practice like that really does help internalize those trick words. That's a great strategy.